Welcome to the Dracula Project. My name's Karen Lovato, and I was assigned Chapter 27, the final chapter of the book. For my project, I chose to do a photo montage of my own photographs of Eastern Europe and the Carpathian Mountain region, including some photos from museums. I hope that you enjoy, but regardless, I hope that you donate to Cloverdale Performing Arts Center. Happy Halloween and enjoy Dracula.
Chapter 27, Mina Harker's Journal, November 1st. All day long we have traveled, and at a good speed. Dr. Van Helsing is laconic. He tells the farmers that he is hurrying to Bistritz, and pays them well to make exchange of horses. It is a lovely country, full of beauties of all imaginable kinds, and the people are brave and strong and simple, and seem full of nice qualities. They are very, very superstitious. In the first house where we stopped, when the woman who served us saw the scar on my forehead, she crossed herself and put 2 fingers toward me to keep off the evil eye. I believe they went to the trouble of putting an extra amount of garlic into our food, and I can't abide garlic. Ever since then I have taken care not to take off my hat or veil. November 2nd. All day long driving. The country gets wilder as we go, and the great spurs of the Carpathians, which at Veresti seemed so far from us, and now so low on the horizon. Dr. Van Helsing says that by morning we shall reach the Borgo Pass. We shall get to the pass in daylight. We do not want to arrive before. Oh, what will tomorrow bring to us? We go to seek the place where my poor darling suffered so much. Memorandum by Abraham Van Helsing. 4 November. It is morning, and I write by fire, which all the night I have kept alive, Madam Mina aiding me. She, who is usual so alert, have done literally nothing all day. She even have lost her appetite. She make no entry into her little diary, she who writes so faithful at every pause. Something whisper to me that all is not well. I began to fear that the last fatal spell of the place was upon her, tainted as she was with that vampire baptism. 5 November, morning. Madam Mina still sleep. The frowning mountains seemed further away, and were near the top of a steep-rising hill, on a summit, on which there was a castle as Jonathan tell of in his diary. I got ready food, but she would not eat, simply saying that she had not hunger. I did not press her, knowing her unavailingness. Then, with the fear on me of what might be, I drew a ring so big for her comfort, round where Madam Mina sat, and over the ring I passed some of the wafer, and I broke it fine so that all was well guarded. She sat still all the time, so still as one dead, and she grew whiter and whiter till the snow was not more pale, and it seemed as though the snow flurries and the wreaths of the mist took shape as of women with trailing garments. I feared for my dear Madam Mina when those weird figures drew near and circled around. I looked at her, but she sat calm and smiled at me. A puff of wind made the flames leap up, and I see the red scar on her forehead. Then, alas, I knew. Did I not, I soon would have learned, for the wheeling figures of mist and snow came closer, but keeping ever without the holy circle. God be thanked she was not yet of them, for I knew we were safe within our protections. They could not approach me while so armed, nor Madam Mina while she remained within the ring, which she could not leave no more than they could enter. First coming of the dawn, the horrid figures melted into the whirling mist of snow. The wreaths of transparent gloom moved away towards the castle and were lost. 5 November, afternoon. When I left Madam Mina sleeping within the holy circle, I took my way to the castle. I found my way to the old chapel, for I knew that here my work lay. I knew that there were at least 3 graves to find, graves that are in habit. So I search, and I find one of them. She lay in her vampire sleep, so full of life and voluptuous beauty that I shudder. There is some fascination, surely, when I am moved by the mere presence of such a one, even lying as she lay in a tomb, fretted with age and heavy with the dust of centuries. when I braced myself again to my horrid task, and found by wrenching away tomb-tops one of the other sisters, the dark one, I dared not pause to look on her as I had on her sister, lest one more I should begin to be enthralled. But I go on searching until presently I find a high great tomb, as if made to one much beloved. There was one tomb more lordly than all the rest. Huge it was, and nobly proportioned. On it was but one word: Dracula. This, then, was the undead home of the king vampire. I laid in Dracula's tomb some wafer, and so banished him from it, undead forever. Then I began my terrible task, as I dreaded it. Oh, my friend John, but it was butcher work. Had I not been nerved by my thoughts of other dead and of the living over whom hung such a pall of fear, I could not have gone on. I could not have endured the horrid screeching as the stake drove home, the plunging of writhing form and lips of bloody foam. I should have fled in terror and left my work undone. But it is over, and the poor souls, I can pity them now, and weep as I think of them placid each in her full sleep of death for a short moment ere fading. For friend John, hardly had my knife severed the head of each before the whole body began to melt away and crumble to its native dust. Before I left the castle, I so fixed its entrances that never more can the Count enter there undead, and so with trust and hope, and yet full of fear, we go eastward to meet our friends and him.
Mina Harker's Journal, November 6th. I knew from the way Van Helsing was searching about that he was trying to seek some strategic point where we would be less exposed in case of attack. Straight in front of us, and not far off, in fact, so near that I wondered that we had not noticed it before, came a group of mounted men hurrying along. In the midst of them was a cart, a long leiter wagon. On the cart was a great square chest. My heart leapt as I saw it, for I felt that the end was coming, and well I knew that at sunset the thing, which was till then imprisoned there, would take new freedom. Look, look! See the two horsemen follow fast, coming up from the south. It must be Quincy and John. Looking around, I saw on the north side the coming of two other men riding at breakneck speed. One of them I knew was Jonathan, and the other I took of course to be Lord Godalming. They, too, were pursuing the party with the cart. All at once 2 voices shouted to halt. Seeing that they were surrounded, the men tightened their reins and drew up. The leader turned to them and gave a word, at which every man of the gypsy party drew what weapon he carried, knife or pistol, and held himself in readiness to attack. Issue was joined in an instant. For answer, all 4 men of our party threw themselves from their horses and dashed forward to the cart. Nothing seemed to stop or even hinder them, neither the levelled weapons nor the flashing of knives of the gypsies in front, nor the howling of the wolves behind appeared to even attract their attention. Jonathan's impetuosity and the manifest singleness of his purpose seemed to overawe those in front of him. Instinctively they cowered aside and let him pass. In an instant he had jumped upon the cart, and with a strength which seemed incredible, raised the great box and flung it over the wheel to the ground. The sun was almost down on the mountain tops, and the shadows of the whole group fell long upon the snow. I saw the Count lying within the box upon the earth, some of which the rude falling from the cart had scattered over him. He was deathly pale, just like a waxen image, and the red eyes glared with a horrible vindictive look which I knew too well. As I looked, the eyes saw the sinking sun, and the look of hate in them turned to triumph. But on the instant came the sweep and flash of Jonathan's great knife. I shrieked as I saw it shear through the throat, whilst at the same moment Mr. Morris's bowie knife plunged into the heart. It was like a miracle, but before our very eyes, and almost in the drawing of a breath, the whole body crumbled into dust and passed from our sight. The castle of Dracula now stood out against the red sky, and every stone of its broken battlements was articulated against the light of the setting sun. The gypsy turned without a word and rode away as if for their lives. Mr. Morris, who had sunk to the ground, leaned on his elbow, holding his hand pressed to his side. The blood still gushed through his fingers. I flew to him, he cried suddenly, struggling up to a sitting posture and pointing to me. It was worth it for all this to die. Look, look! The sun was now right upon the mountain-top, and the red gleams fell upon my face, so that it was bathed in a rosy light. See, the snow is not more stainless than her forehead. The curse has passed away. And so to our bitter grief, with a smile and in silence, he died, a gallant gentleman.
7 years later.
In the summer of this year we made a journey to Transylvania, and went over the old ground which was and is to us so full of vivid and terrible memories. It was almost impossible to believe that the things which we had seen with our own eyes and heard with our own ears were living truths. Every trace of all that had been was blotted out. The castle stood as before, reared high above the waste of desolation. When we got home, I took papers from the safe where they had been ever since our return so long ago. We could hardly ask anyone, even did we wish to accept these as proofs of so wild a story. Van Helsing summed it up all as he said, "We want no proofs, we ask none to believe us.